The passenger lounge of the colony starship was always filled with voices. Travelers of many worlds spoke in their own tones, their words blending into a sea of sound. The air was alive with movement as merchants, workers, students, and families passed through, some preparing for long journeys, others simply waiting for the next stop. In the far corner of the lounge, apart from the chatter, sat a woman unlike the rest. Her skin was pale with a faint blue glow, not the light of lamps but the natural shade of her body. Her eyes shimmered silver whenever the ship's ceiling lights passed over them. She was tall, calm, and very still, as if she carried a weight unseen by others. Her clothing was simple, made of smooth fabric that reflected soft colors, shifting from gray to violet when she moved. Yet the most striking thing about her was not her look. It was the air around her. A scent spread from her seat. To some, it felt sharp, almost bitter, like smoke from burning herbs. To others, it was heavy, almost like the smell of wet stone after a storm. Whatever it was, most passengers found it uncomfortable. One by one, they had chosen seats far from her, leaving a wide empty circle around her chair. A young mother with her child walked close but quickly turned away. A merchant muttered under his breath about strange travelers who did not belong among others. A pair of students laughed quietly and pointed before moving toward the far end of the lounge. None dared speak directly to the woman, but their actions made their feelings clear. The alien woman noticed it all. She sat with her hands folded, her head slightly lowered, her eyes staring into the distance. She did not argue or speak against the behavior. It seemed she had experienced it many times before. Every new passenger who entered the lounge gave her the same look. They slowed when they saw the empty seat beside her, considered for a short moment, then turned away to search for another place. The empty seat became more than a chair. It became a message. It said she was not welcome. It said she was different. Still, she remained. The woman did not leave the lounge. Perhaps she was too tired to move. Perhaps she had nowhere else to go. Or perhaps she stayed because she wished, in some small way, to be near others even if they would not draw near to her. The ship continued its journey between distant colonies. Hours passed, yet the circle around her seat never closed. The murmur of voices filled the lounge, but she remained in silence, as if surrounded by an invisible wall. Her name was Lyra. Few on the ship knew it. Fewer cared to ask. To them, she was only an alien woman with an unpleasant presence. When a group of miners entered the lounge after finishing their shift, one of them pointed toward her corner and made a face of disgust. "That smell again," he said loudly, not caring if she heard. His friends laughed and moved to the far wall. Lyra did not react. She simply drew in a quiet breath, her silver eyes closing for a moment before opening again. There was loneliness in her gaze. The emptiness around her seemed larger than the space of one seat. It was a gap between her and every soul in the lounge, a reminder that she belonged nowhere among them. Children who passed near her asked their parents why the tall woman looked so strange, why her skin carried such a color. The parents whispered quick answers and pulled them away, as if speaking with her would bring trouble. Even the service robots of the lounge seemed to hesitate near her seat. They delivered food and drink to other tables first, leaving her for last. When they approached, they placed her tray quickly and retreated without a word. Still she endured. She lifted her drink slowly, tasting it without expression. She ate the simple meal placed before her. Though she looked calm, her eyes told a different story. They carried the weight of many such days. It was a quiet kind of pain, one that came not from open insult but from silent distance. Lyra had grown used to it, but habit did not remove its sting. Outside the wide glass of the lounge, stars drifted past in endless patterns. The ship moved at high speed, but the view looked peaceful, as if the galaxy itself carried no judgment. To the stars, she was no different from any other traveler. But inside the ship, She remained apart. As the cycle of lights above dimmed to signal evening, fewer passengers entered the lounge. Yet the seat beside her stayed empty. 100 chairs filled across the hall, voices rose in laughter, songs were shared, deals were made, and friendships formed. Only in her corner did silence reign. Lyra looked at the empty seat beside her once more. She thought of how it always remains so, no matter the world, no matter the ship, no matter the crowd. A simple chair, untouched, spoke louder than any insult. She lowered her gaze to her hands, folding them tightly in her lap. She told herself it did not matter. She told herself she was strong. But in truth, she longed for just one voice to break the silence. She longed for one person to see her as more than a strange scent, more than a figure to be avoided. In the great sea of people, she sat alone. And the seat beside her waited, as if holding its breath for the one who might choose differently. The lounge grew busy again as the starship moved closer to its next waypoint. Doors slid open, and a fresh group of travelers entered. Among them was a young human named Arun. He was not tall, not strong, and not dressed in fine clothing. His simple jacket showed signs of wear, his boots carried faint scratches from travel, and his face carried a calm expression. Arun carried a small bag on his shoulder. He looked around the room, searching for a seat. The lounge was almost full. Families had taken the long benches near the windows. Miners sat in clusters near the food counter, their loud voices filling the air. Traders claimed the center tables, spreading out their devices and papers. Students were gathered at the far end, laughing in their own group. Seat after seat was taken. Arun walked slowly through the rows, his eyes moving from one side to the other. Each time he approached a chair, he saw it already claimed. He did not seem bothered, only patient. He continued his search. Then he noticed the empty chair. It was near the corner, beside the tall alien woman with silver eyes. The space around her was strangely open, as if an invisible barrier kept others away. Arun looked at it for a moment. He could feel the eyes of other passengers following him. Some shook their heads. Some whispered quietly, expecting him to turn away as everyone else had. But Arun did not hesitate. He walked straight to the chair, placed his bag down, and sat. The sound of the seat shifting under his weight was small, yet it broke a silence that had lasted for hours around that corner. The alien woman turned her head slightly, her silver eyes meeting his. For a moment, she looked almost uncertain. Few had dared sit beside her since the journey began. She studied his face, searching for the usual signs, discomfort, disgust, or hesitation. Yet his expression was calm. Arun gave her a small nod, not forced, not nervous, just a quiet greeting. "Hello," he said. His voice was steady, low, and carried no judgment. She studied him again before replying in a voice that was soft yet clear. "Do you not mind sitting here?" she asked. Arun tilted his head, as if confused by the question. "Why would I mind?" The woman glanced away for a moment. "Most do," she said. "They do not enjoy the air near me." Her hands folded together tightly. "It is my scent. They call it unpleasant." Arun inhaled slowly, as if testing the air. Then he gave a faint smile. "It does not bother me," he said. "In fact, it reminds me of something familiar." Her silver eyes widened slightly. She leaned closer, curious. "Familiar?" Arun nodded. "Yes. It is like rain falling on dry soil. It is like smoke from firewood. It is like the earth after a storm." His gaze softened as he spoke. "When I was young, that was the air of my village. I have not smelled it for a long time." The woman blinked, clearly surprised. In all her travels, no one had ever spoken of her scent with such words. To most, it was strange, heavy, even offensive. but here was a human who compared it to home. She said quietly, "You are not disturbed by it?" Arun shook his head. "No. It feels warm. It carries memory." For the first time in many days, a small light touched her face. It was not a full smile, but the beginning of one, soft and hesitant. She lowered her eyes, her hands relaxing slightly. The room, however, was not as calm. Other passengers watched in silence. They could not believe someone had chosen the seat beside the alien woman. Whispers spread again. Some shook their heads, others exchanged doubtful glances. Yet none spoke loudly enough to interrupt. Arun seemed not to notice. He adjusted his bag, leaned back in the chair, and rested his arms on the table between them. He looked at her again. "What is your name?" The woman paused, then answered. "Lyra." He repeated it softly, as if testing the sound. "Lyra," he said. Then he pointed to himself. "I am Arun." The simple act of sharing names changed the air between them. Lyra had grown used to silence, used to being left without introduction. Now, a human not only sat beside her but also spoke to her as an equal. The starship's engines hummed in the distance, steady and deep. Around them, life in the lounge continued. Children laughed in one corner, merchants argued in another, miners told stories near the counter. Yet for Lyra, the only sound that mattered was the voice of the human who had broken the silence. For the first time in this journey, the empty seat no longer felt like a mark of rejection. It felt like the beginning of something new. Lyra studied him again, her silver eyes softer now. "You are not afraid of me?" Arun smiled slightly. "Why would I be? You are traveling, just like me. You are alone, just like I was before I sat here." The words were simple, but they carried truth. Lyra felt them settle deep in her heart. She had long carried the belief that she was a burden to others, that her presence brought discomfort. Yet this human spoke without hesitation, without fear, and without mockery. She drew a slow breath, letting his words sink in. Perhaps, for the first time in many cycles, she did not feel entirely alone. The lounge lights dimmed to evening mode, turning the walls a softer shade of gold. Many passengers had already eaten their meals and now rested in their seats, speaking in low voices or watching the starfield through the wide glass panels. The endless scatter of lights outside gave the illusion of calm, yet inside the lounge tension still moved quietly, like a shadow. Lyra sat with her hands folded on the table, her silver eyes fixed on the stars. She felt the presence of the human beside her. She could sense his steady breathing, hear the small sounds as he adjusted his seat. For so long, she had been used to silence and distance, yet now there was a person close enough to speak to her. Still, she hesitated. She feared that if she spoke, she might break whatever small balance had allowed him to sit there without judgment. But then Arun's voice came, gentle and curious. "You travel alone?" he asked. His words were simple, but they reached her like a bridge. She turned her gaze toward him, measuring his expression. His eyes did not hold suspicion, only interest. She gave a small nod. "Yes. I have traveled alone for many journeys." Arun tilted his head, listening carefully. "You must see many places then." "This is my first trip across the colonies." There was a pause. Then Lyra asked, "Do you not have a home to return to?" Arun's eyes softened. "I had one, long ago. My family lived near the river plains on Earth. But the colonies offered work, and so I left. The land I knew is far behind me now." When he spoke of Earth, his voice carried warmth. Lyra could sense the weight of memory behind his words. It was the same weight she carried, though in a different form. "I see," she said quietly. "I also left my home. It was not by choice. Circumstance demanded it." Her silver eyes lowered, but Arun leaned slightly forward, inviting her to continue. My people are few, she continued. We live on worlds where the air is heavy and the soil is rich with minerals. The scent you notice is part of us. It is tied to our breath, to the way we live in our own lands. Here, among others, it is different. It pushes people away. Arun breathed in, thoughtful. It does not push me away. To me, it feels like memory. When I was a child, after a storm, I would run through fields of wet soil. The smell would rise all around me. And when the sun returned, the earth would breathe again. That is what I think of when I sit here beside you. Lyra blinked. She studied him with quiet wonder. No one had ever spoken of her presence in such a way. Where others found discomfort, he found memory and comfort. Perhaps, she said softly, our scents are shaped by the same earth, though in different skies. Arun smiled at her words. Maybe so. For a moment they sat in silence, but it was not the heavy silence Lyra had known before. It was a silence that carried peace, like the calm after rain. Then Arun asked, why do you keep to the lounge if the others avoid you? Would it not be easier to stay in your cabin? Lyra's eyes turned once more to the stars. If I remain in my cabin, I am truly alone. Here, though they do not sit near me, I can still feel the presence of others. I can still hear their voices. Even if they do not wish for me to join them, I wish to be near the sound of life. It reminds me that I am part of something greater than silence. Arun listened carefully. He understood. He had known silence too, on long journeys when work kept him far from family. He knew how the absence of voices could make even the strongest heart feel hollow. I am glad I sat here, he said at last. Lyra turned toward him again. Her silver eyes reflected the soft gold light. You are the first to say that. Arun chuckled quietly. Then perhaps I am the first who truly listened. The simple words struck something deep within her. For so long, she had lived as if her presence were a burden. Yet now a human sat calmly beside her, speaking as if she belonged. The sound of a tray clattering drew their attention for a moment. A group of students had dropped a drink while passing, and they laughed as they cleaned it up. Lyra noticed that several of them glanced her way, then quickly looked away again, whispering to one another. She lowered her gaze, but Arun's steady voice brought her back. Do not mind them. People fear what they do not know. It is easier for them to turn away than to understand. But that does not mean all will turn away. She breathed slowly, allowing his words to ease the sting of the whispers. Your people must see you as strange too, she said. Do they not question why you sit here beside me? Arun shrugged gently. Perhaps they do. But it does not matter. I follow what feels right. And right now, this feels right. The way he spoke was so simple, yet it carried a strength that Lyra had rarely seen. Many had spoken to her with kindness before, but kindness mixed with pity. Arun spoke with neither fear nor pity. He spoke as though she were simply another traveler. For the first time since the journey began, her shoulders eased, and the tightness in her chest loosened. Thank you, she whispered. Arun gave another small nod, as if the thanks required no reply. The lounge continued to hum with life around them. The voices of miners telling stories rose again, merchants argued over trade numbers, children asked questions their parents tried to answer. But in the corner, two voices had found each other, cutting through the emptiness that had hung there since the journey began. Lyra thought of her home, of the deep caves where her people lived, of the strong sense of earth and stone, of the warmth of voices in the darkness. For a moment, sitting beside this human, she felt something she had not felt for a long time. She felt less like a shadow, more like a person. Arun looked out at the stars. It is a long way to the next world, he said. I think we will have many chances to speak again. The next days of the journey passed slowly as the starship traveled between systems. In the lounge, people continued their routines. Some worked, some rested, and some simply passed the time with idle talk. Yet in one corner, something unusual had taken root. The once empty seat beside the alien woman was no longer empty. Arun returned again and again, choosing that place without hesitation. Each time he entered the lounge, eyes followed him. The passengers still whispered, still wondered why he sat there. But Arun paid no mind. He carried his food tray, set it down, and greeted Lyra with the same calm smile. And each time, her silver eyes lifted with a quiet relief, as though the silence around her was lifted by his presence. At first their words were careful, measured like footsteps on fragile ground. But with every meeting, their conversations grew. What began as short exchanges became long hours of shared stories. One evening, Arun spoke of his childhood. "I remember running with the other children near the plains," he said. "The soil would crack when the sun burned strong. But when the rains came, the earth came alive again. We would splash through the mud until our mothers called us back. The smell of wet ground never left me. Even now, I feel it in your presence." Lyra listened closely. His words painted pictures she had never seen, yet she could feel them. "My people also value the soil," she replied. "We live in the deep caves where stone walls hold our homes. The air is thick, filled with minerals that feed our crops. Our bodies carry the same air, and it moves with us wherever we go." Her voice lowered slightly. "To others, it is unpleasant. To us, it is life itself." Arun nodded. "Then perhaps what others call unpleasant is only a reminder of where you belong." Her silver eyes softened. For years, she had heard only rejection. Yet here was a human who saw meaning in what others despised. Another day, their talk turned to stars. Arun asked, "How many worlds have you seen?" Lyra thought carefully. "More than I can count. Each one different, each one strange in its own way. Yet in every port, I find the same silence. People step aside. They whisper. They look away. Sometimes I wonder if my journey is not through space but through loneliness itself." Her words were heavy, yet she spoke them calmly, as if she had long carried the weight. Arun rested his arms on the table. "Loneliness grows when people forget to look deeper," he said. "I see no reason to fear you. I see someone who carries stories worth knowing." The way he spoke was simple, yet it struck her heart with quiet strength. In return, Lyra shared her memories. She spoke of the caves of her world, where glowing stones lit the walls like gentle lanterns. She spoke of the songs her people sang, voices echoing through the stone halls, carrying strength from one family to another. She spoke of harvest festivals when the air was thick with the fragrance of herbs, and of children racing through narrow tunnels with laughter that filled the darkness. Arun listened with full attention. His eyes did not wander, his face did not show boredom. When she finished, he said, "It sounds beautiful. You carry your world with you in your words." For a moment, Lyra felt as if she was back among her people. Though her scent had pushed others away, Arun's listening brought her home. As days passed, their bond grew stronger. They spoke of work, of duty, of hopes for the future. Arun admitted his wish to one day build a new home on a colony world, one where children could grow under open skies. Lyra admitted her wish to find a place where she could belong without fear, where her presence was not seen as burden. Sometimes they sat without words, simply sharing the view of the stars. For Lyra, even silence felt different now. When shared, silence was not heavy. It was peaceful. Still, not everyone looked kindly on their growing closeness. The whispers of the other passengers grew louder. Some said Arun was strange. Others warned that sitting beside the alien woman was dangerous. A few even claimed her scent must be a hidden weapon, a trick to lure the human into trust. One evening, as Arun left the lounge, a miner stopped him. "Why do you sit with her?" the man asked. His voice carried suspicion. "You know what she is. You know what that air around her does." Arun looked at him calmly. "I know what it does to me. It reminds me of home." Then he walked on, leaving the miner frowning in confusion. Lyra noticed the looks, the whispers, the pointing fingers. She had seen it all before, but this time it troubled her more deeply. She worried not for herself, but for the human who chose her side. One evening, when Arun sat down with his usual quiet smile, she spoke in a low voice. "You should not stay near me too often. The others may think poorly of you." Arun leaned back slightly, his expression steady. "Let them think what they wish. Their thoughts do not decide mine." "But you will carry their judgment," she said. "It may harm your place among them." Arun shook his head. "A place built on fear is no place worth keeping. I would rather sit where I belong, even if others do not see it." The words silenced her. She could not argue against them. His calmness was like stone, firm and unshaken. And so the days continued. The bond grew stronger. Where once there was silence, now there was conversation. Where once there was emptiness, now there was presence. The starship carried them through the endless dark of space, but in that corner of the lounge, a light had been lit. It was small, quiet, but steady. Two travelers, human and alien, had found in each other what the rest of the crowd could not give. The starship moved through the deep lanes of space, steady and constant. For many aboard, the long journey was nothing more than a routine passage. Days passed with meals, rest, and small talk. Yet beneath the surface of this ordinary life, whispers had begun to spread. Passengers still noticed the human who chose the seat beside the alien woman. At first they had only watched with quiet confusion. But now, as days turned into weeks, their curiosity grew into talk. And talk, as always, grew into rumor. "He sits with her every day," one merchant said to another near the food counter. "Perhaps he is under some influence," replied his companion. "Perhaps her scent clouds his thoughts." A miner leaned in, lowering his voice. "I heard her kind can release strange airs to control others. He may not even realize what she is doing." The words moved quickly, passed from table to table. Students carried them, workers repeated them, and even families began to glance with worry whenever Arun walked toward the corner seat. Some passengers avoided him in the hallways, stepping aside as though his closeness to Lyra might spread like a sickness. Lyra herself noticed the change. The eyes that had once ignored her now followed her every move. She had long been used to distance, but this was different. It was not just avoidance now. It was suspicion. She lowered her gaze more often, her shoulders tense as she sat across from Arun. Though she longed for his company, she also feared the cost he might pay. One evening, when the lounge was quieter than usual, she spoke. "Arun," she said softly, "perhaps you should not sit with me anymore." He looked at her in surprise. "Why?" Her silver eyes lowered. "The others do not trust me. Now they speak against you as well. If you stay beside me, their words may turn against you. I do not wish to harm your place among them." Arun leaned forward, his face calm. "Their words are theirs, not mine. I do not measure my place by their judgment." "But it will weigh on you," she insisted. "You will carry their doubt, their suspicion. That burden is mine, not yours." Arun shook his head. "A burden shared becomes lighter. And if I choose to sit here, then it is my choice, not theirs. They may whisper, but whispers do not change truth." Her heart tightened at his reply. For so long she had walked alone, expecting no one to share her path. Now, a human not only shared it but spoke as though he carried it willingly. Still, the rumors did not stop. One day, a group of miners approached Arun as he left the lounge. Their leader, a broad man with a scar across his cheek, blocked his way. "Why do you sit with her?" the man asked sharply. "Do you not feel the air she spreads? It makes people sick. You should know better." Arun looked at him steadily. "Her presence does not make me sick. It reminds me of home." The man frowned. "Home? That stench is nothing like home." "To you, perhaps," Arun replied. "But to me it is the smell of rain on soil, the smell of firewood burning. You may call it strange. I call it memory." The miner's face darkened, but Arun did not wait for an answer. He stepped past them and continued on his way. The group muttered among themselves, but none dared follow. Word of the encounter spread quickly. Some passengers respected his courage, though few admitted it openly. Others grew even more certain that something unnatural tied him to the alien woman. Lyra felt the weight of it all. When Arun returned to her side the next day, she studied him carefully. "They will not leave you in peace," she said. "Your kindness has become their reason to suspect you." Arun smiled faintly. "Then let them suspect. It changes nothing of what I see when I sit here." Her silver eyes softened, but her heart remained troubled. She had known loneliness before. She had known rejection. But now she feared something worse, that her presence might cost another his peace. Yet as the days continued, Arun did not falter. He returned to her side each morning, sat with her each evening, and listened to her words with the same calm patience. They spoke of worlds both had never seen, of dreams not yet reached, of the simple wish to belong somewhere without fear. Sometimes she tested him. She asked, "Do you ever doubt me? Do you ever wonder if the others are right?" Arun looked at her firmly. "No. Doubt grows when there is no truth. But I have seen enough of you to know the truth. You are no danger to me." His answer settled her fears, though not fully. She still heard the whispers when others passed. She still saw the way they glanced, suspicious and uneasy. But with him beside her, she found strength she had not known she carried. On one quiet night, as the lounge emptied and the stars shone like silver rivers beyond the glass, she spoke once more. "You are unlike the others," she said. Arun tilted his head. "How so?" "You do not fear what they fear. You do not turn away as they do. You do not see my presence as a curse." Her voice lowered. "I do not understand why." Arun thought carefully before replying. "Perhaps because I know what it feels like to be overlooked. On Earth, I was not special. In the colonies, I am only another worker. People pass me by without seeing. But when I see you, I do not see strangeness. I see someone who deserves to be seen." Her eyes glistened faintly, though no tears fell. She turned back to the stars, her voice almost a whisper. "You see me?" "Yes," he said. "And that is enough." The hum of the engines filled the silence that followed. Around them, the whispers of the crowd still moved, but for Lyra and Arun, the noise no longer mattered. In that corner of the lounge, they had built something stronger than rumor. They had built trust. The ship glided silently through the endless dark of space. Outside the wide windows of the lounge, stars stretched like rivers of silver dust, far and unreachable. Inside, the passengers lived their small lives, some passing time in laughter, others in silence. Yet in the corner, where once no one sat, two voices had grown steady with each passing day. Arun arrived as usual, carrying a simple tray of food. The whispers of the other passengers still followed him, but his steps did not slow. He placed his tray on the table and greeted Lyra with a calm smile. She lifted her silver eyes to him and gave a quiet nod. They ate in silence for a short while. Around them, laughter and talk filled the air, but their corner felt like a world of its own. Then Lyra set down her cup and drew a slow breath. There was something in her face that Arun had not seen before. It was not only sadness. It was decision. Arun, she said softly, there is something you should know. He looked at her with patience, waiting for her to continue. My scent, she began. It is not an accident. It is not only the air of my world that clings to me. It is part of who I am. My kind carry it within us. It changes with our state of heart. Arun leaned forward, interested. What do you mean? She lowered her gaze. When I feel sorrow, the scent grows heavy. When I feel fear, it grows sharp. When I feel calm, it softens. I cannot control it fully. It is tied to what I feel, the way your face changes when you are happy or troubled. My scent is my truth made visible. Arun was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly, as if the words explained much. So the others smell your sorrow and mistake it for poison. Her lips curved faintly, though without joy. Yes. They do not see me. They only sense what they do not understand. My sorrow to them is only discomfort. My fear to them is only danger. Arun studied her carefully. And when I sit here, what does it become? Her silver eyes rose to meet his. For a long time, she did not answer. Then she said quietly, when you sit here, it softens. It feels less heavy, less sharp. For the first time in many journeys, I do not feel that my presence is only a burden. My scent begins to carry memory instead of loneliness. That is why you sense home. Because near you, I am no longer afraid. The words settled deeply between them. Arun felt their weight, and yet he did not look away. So it is not a curse, he said gently. It is a voice of the heart. Lyra nodded. Yes. But it is a voice others cannot hear. They only recoil from it. They do not know it is truth. They only feel discomfort. Arun leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. Perhaps they do not wish to listen. But I hear it. I feel it. And I do not turn away. For the first time, Lyra's lips curved into a true smile. It was small, fragile, but it was real. Her silver eyes brightened faintly, like stars reflected in water. You are different, she said. Arun shrugged lightly. Perhaps I am only stubborn. No, she said, shaking her head gently. It is more than that. You do not see me as shadow. You see me as person. The moment between them was quiet but strong. Around them, passengers still whispered, still glanced with suspicion. Yet their words felt far away, powerless against the truth that had just been spoken. That night, as the lounge emptied and the ship lights dimmed toward rest, Lyra shared more. She spoke of the first time she left her world, how the other species she met recoiled the same way, how she learned to lower her eyes and carry silence so that no one would speak cruelly to her. She spoke of the many ships, the many ports, the many times she walked alone through crowds that parted before her. I thought it would always be this way, she said softly. An endless road of silence. Arun listened without interruption. When she finished, he said, it does not need to be endless. Silence breaks when someone chooses to speak. Her gaze lingered on him. And you have spoken. Yes, he replied. And I will continue to. For a long while they sat together, saying little more. Yet the silence between them was filled, not empty. The following days, Lyra noticed something new. Her scent did not carry the same weight it once did. Passengers still avoided her, but the sharp glances grew fewer. Perhaps it was not that the others changed, but that she herself carried less fear. Beside Arun, she no longer braced for rejection. She simply was. One afternoon, a child wandered close to their table. His small eyes blinked curiously at Lyra, and unlike the others, he did not turn away immediately. His mother rushed to pull him back, whispering a quick apology, but in that short moment Lyra felt a spark of hope. Perhaps the wall between her and others was not unbreakable. She turned to Arun, her voice quiet. "Do you think they will ever accept me?" Arun considered his words. "Perhaps not all. But acceptance begins with one. And one is enough to change the path of many." Her heart warmed at his reply. The ship continued its long journey, but for Lyra, the road no longer felt endless. She had revealed her truth, and instead of fear, she had found understanding. And for Arun, each word she shared only deepened his sense of connection. Her presence reminded him of soil, of rain, of firewood, but now it also reminded him of something greater. It reminded him that in the vast emptiness of space, true companionship could bloom in the most unlikely places. That night, as the stars glimmered through the wide glass, Lyra spoke one final thought before they parted. "You have given me something I did not think I would find again," she said softly. Arun tilted his head. "What is that?" "Hope," she answered. The journey stretched into its final weeks. Outside the ship, the stars seemed endless, scattered like jewels across a black ocean. Inside, the passengers were restless. Whispers had turned into quiet complaints, and many still kept their distance from Lyra. They could not escape her presence, yet they tried to pretend she was not there. Arun did not waver. Each day he sat beside her, speaking gently, listening when she shared her thoughts, and staying silent when words were not needed. Their table in the corner of the lounge had become their small island, a place where understanding grew while the rest of the ship turned away. One evening, the captain's voice echoed through the speakers. "Attention all passengers. We have entered a region of unstable energy. Please remain calm and follow safety instructions. All crew are at their stations." The lights flickered as the ship trembled. A low hum filled the air, and the floor vibrated under every step. Fear spread quickly through the lounge. Children clung to their parents, and voices rose in alarm. Lyra's eyes widened. She felt the shift in the air, sharp and heavy. Her scent changed without her control. A wave of unease spread across the room, sharper than before. People turned toward her, blaming her presence for their discomfort. "She is making it worse," someone shouted. "Keep her away," another cried. Fear twisted the voices of the passengers. They pointed at her as if she was the cause of the danger itself. Lyra lowered her head, ashamed though she had done nothing wrong. Arun stood. His voice was steady, louder than the panic around him. "Stop. It is not her. The ship shakes because of the storm outside, not because of her. Your fear is your own. Do not put it on her." The passengers hesitated. Some turned away, unwilling to listen, but others grew quiet, uncertain. Arun placed his hand gently on Lyra's arm. "Stay with me," he said softly. She nodded, though her heart raced. The ship shook harder. Lights dimmed, then glowed again. The captain's voice returned, calm but firm. "All passengers, secure yourselves. The storm is strong, but the ship will hold." Despite the warning, panic grew. People clutched their seats, whispering prayers. Lyra closed her eyes, trying to control the sharpness of her scent. She focused on her breath, on the calmness she had felt when speaking with Arun. Slowly, the heavy edge began to soften. Arun noticed. "You are doing it," he said gently. "You are steadying yourself. You are stronger than you believe." Her silver eyes opened. "I am trying. But they will always fear me." "Not all," Arun replied. "Look around." She glanced across the room. A child was watching her, the same one who had wandered near their table before. This time, the mother did not pull him back. The boy's eyes were wide, but not afraid. Instead, they held curiosity. Lyra felt something stir within her, like a spark against the darkness. The storm raged for hours. The ship swayed, but it endured. When at last the captain announced that the danger had passed, a great sigh of relief filled the lounge. People hugged one another, speaking in rushed voices. Arun and Lyra sat quietly, their small island of calm untouched by the rush. Later that night, as most passengers went to rest, Arun and Lyra remained by the window. The stars shone clear again, as if the storm had never existed. "You see," Arun said softly, "they feared you in their panic. But fear always looks for someone to blame. It was not truth. It was weakness." Lyra's gaze lingered on the stars. "Perhaps. But I am tired of always being the shadow." Arun turned to her. His voice was steady. "You are not a shadow. You are a light that others do not yet know how to see." Her silver eyes met his. The words struck deep. For so long, she had believed herself to be a burden. Yet here was a human who spoke as if she was something more. "Why do you care so much?" she asked quietly. Arun thought for a moment before answering. "Because in you I see what many forget. We all long for home, for belonging. Your scent gave me that when no one else could. It reminded me of earth, of rain, of fire. It reminded me I am not alone in this vast sky. If I can give you even a piece of that belonging in return, then I will." Her breath caught. For the first time, she felt not just comfort but strength in his words. The next morning, something unexpected happened. The child who had watched her came forward with a small flower drawn on a piece of paper. He handed it to her without fear. His mother watched nervously from behind but did not stop him. Lyra accepted the paper with gentle hands. She smiled at the boy, and her scent softened in a way no one had ever felt before. The air around her grew lighter, almost soothing. A few passengers nearby paused, confused by the change. Arun noticed too. "You see," he said quietly, "they are beginning to understand." From that day, the whispers in the lounge began to lessen. Not all passengers changed, but some no longer moved away quite so quickly. A few even nodded politely when they passed her table. The shift was small, but it was real. As the journey neared its end, Arun and Lyra walked the ship together. For the first time, she did not keep her head bowed. Her steps were calm, and her presence no longer felt like a burden. On the final night before arrival, she spoke once more as they stood by the window. The planet of their destination glowed faintly ahead, a sphere of blue and green against the dark. "Arun," she said softly, "you have given me more than I can say. You have given me a place in this journey. You have given me hope." He smiled. "And you have given me a memory that will never leave me." Her silver eyes shimmered. "Perhaps one day, when people speak of my kind, they will not speak only of fear. Perhaps they will remember this. That one human sat with me when no one else would." Arun nodded. "They will. Because that is the difference we can make. One act, one choice, one friendship can change everything." The ship entered orbit. Passengers gathered their belongings, preparing for the new world below. Amid the crowd, Lyra and Arun stood side by side. For all the silence she had once carried, Lyra now felt something else within her. Not fear. Not sorrow. But strength.